everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're getting started on our truck project. I did a little bit of work last summer, but then didn't get a chance to work on it. I had to get the bus done. What I have to do here is I need to pull this cab off. I also have a flatbed. It's kind of hiding behind me there. To pull that off. And then we'll be working on the drivetrain. I'm going to be swapping the transmission over because I have a donor truck. If you haven't seen the first video in this series, I kind of have an update that I filmed last fall. Yeah, today we're going to be pulling that flatbed off, the cab off hopefully, and getting it ready to be worked on, I guess. So here we go. First thing I have to do is there's some U-bolts. Thankfully this one's already undone. There's some bolts too that hold it to the frame. There's another U-bolt. But we want to get this off and out of the way. Okay, we got the big impact and a wrench. Hopefully we can take these off. It's interesting if they stacked these washers here. I wonder why they did that. Maybe they didn't have a deep enough socket. I'm gonna grab a fire extinguisher. This is wood that's keeping it, that isolates the flatbed from the frame. And it's very dry, so probably best to grab it. This is just a little soapy water to wet down that wood there. There we go. It's pretty crazy that lifted up as much as it did. I bet that's why that bolt didn't come out, was because it had just too much stress on it for the impact to overcome. Yeah, let's go get the other side done. It's a little bit of a windy day here in South Dakota and it's fairly dry. So it is so important to, whenever you're cutting, to have a fire extinguisher with you. And this isn't technically the best type because it's really corrosive. If you have a fire, in like a piece of equipment here, like the semi-truck. If you spray this on, you have to get it cleaned up right away because it will just eat through the metal. But Farmcraft has a great video on his man lift. He was using a torch on it to get some pins out and caught it on fire. So yeah, always want to have these around. I guess I should check it for mud daubers. Nozzle's clean, so yeah. Watch his video on that, it's pretty interesting. So next up, we need to get this side all prepped. We have U-bolts to pull out at the back part and then bolts at the front. So let's get to it. Okay, here we are on the driver's side. The setup is pretty similar to the passenger. Let's get these U-bolts out. So these wrenches are kind of interesting. They have a different size end on each side. So this is 15/16. This side's 1 inch. Kind of convenient if you don't know exactly what you're going to be using. And grab a couple of these and grab basically the equivalent of 4 wrenches if you grab 2 of these. So I got these in an auction and I have a whole video about it. Link is at the top here, and I encourage you to go check that out. Okay, let's get this off. That nut's going to be as hot as a $2 pistol here. That's probably 100, 150 degrees just from the impacting. Okay, let's get this thing wetted down so we don't start a fire. This fuel tank is also almost empty, so not ideal. When they're almost empty, they have a lot of vapor in here, which is much more easy to combust for diesel, is what I've been told. You'd almost be better off with a full tank. I didn't have a great angle, so we're just going to try to impact it after we got it hot. Now that nut is hot. We're going to leave that to cool and that to cool before I mess around with that. Okay, now that the flatbed is free from the frame, it's time to get some rigging together, and we'll use a telehandler to pick this off and set it aside. Okay, we have her all rigged up and ready to go. She's actually, this flatbed is just floating here. So I can see it wiggling all the way up to the front of the frame on that side. And on this side, yeah, it's a little stiffer. Maybe I should check. I have one more U-bolt that I might have missed. Oh, I'm glad I checked. That U-bolt is still tight, so let me get the impact out and we'll get this zipped off and then we can lift it off. Glad I found that first before we started lifting. Okay, let's check this now. And I can see everything bouncing now. So we should be ready to lift this off. get this set on the ground here, but it is off. This is exciting though. First time I've seen this truck without the flatbed on it. So, yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, we'll get our load safely on the ground, and then we'll come over here and start really looking at what we got here. Okay, so the flatbed's sitting over there. That's a good sign. We're making progress. They had in between the frame rails and the flatbed, they just put a couple pieces of board. And I don't know, it's not ideal. Created a lot of rusting on this top member. Almost makes me want to double frame this, but it's a lot of work. Up here it's not nearly as bad, but back there where you're going to be taking all the weight of a fifth wheel plate, not the greatest thing. But what I'll probably end up doing is cleaning these off really good and then measuring to see how much I lost, especially in that area there, and then see if I want to double frame. Problem is the frame gets thicker up front here and tapers back pretty much right where this lift axle is. It's is where it stops tapering. So yeah, we'll have to see what we want to do there. Anyhow, next step is to take the air dryer off its bracket so I can lay it down in the frame, and then take this bracket off that holds up the muffler and take off this one exhaust clamp right here. And once we get that done, then I'll be ready to lift the cab off, pretty sure. The air dryer is completely disconnected. This is the vent line for when it purges. That's loose down there. The last thing I take off is this bracket that holds the pump in place, or the lines for the pump for the cab tilt. Get that off, then we can start undoing the brackets for this, which might be easier said than done. Okay, so I had a slight change of plans here. I can't get to the bolts that hold this bracket on with the fuel tank in here. The fuel tank has to come off anyway because it has a giant dent in the tank that needs to be either pounded out, or I have another tank I could, actually I have a bunch more tanks. I could steal 2 from there and I have another one sitting out back. So either way, I'm going to take this tank off. It'll give me more room to work here. It'll be easier to clean up the frame and paint it and all that. So we'll get this done. I'm gonna start working on the straps to get the straps off of the tanks. We'll just use one to hold it up while we're getting the rest of the fuel pumped out. So, yep. The little transfer pump works pretty good. So. Okay everyone, we're losing light here on the first day of really working on the semi-truck. I almost got as far as I wanted to, but not quite. So the cab's still on the frame, unfortunately, but the fuel tank is gone, the exhaust stack and that bracket is gone, and we have a good game plan for how to lift the cab off. It was a really productive day. It's fun to actually start working on this project. It's been in the works for a year and a half now, and it's going to be really important for us because we're going to be using it to move this giant trailer you see behind us out to Idaho, and our loader. We have a flatbed with a whole bunch of stuff we're going to be bringing out, and then when we're out there, it's going to be hauling water for us at the beginning. It's going to be getting materials. It's going to be a workhorse for us, and we're going to be really fortunate to have it. A semi-truck like this opens up a lot of doors for what you can do. I already have a CDL, so that's not a problem for me. So yeah, it's a fun project and we're making progress. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.